I just like to go over certain things. I'm sure my son did it, but maybe, I'll add a little bit. Won't take long just to go over certain things. I left off last week. Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish. The Mishnah discusses a case where, because again we're going to have it afterwards, where Ruvain marries a woman. Says, I'm giving you a certain amount of money. She's doing the act of kiddushin now. It should take effect in 30 days. So it's understood if a second person comes before it takes effect in 30 days and he marries her, who's she married to? To the second person, not the first person. What happens if a third party doesn't come to marry her? But he says, after he gave her the money, he says, I changed my mind. He says, I changed my mind. I'm not interested in marrying you. I spoke to my accountant, can't afford you. I want to just cancel it. Does he have the ability to cancel it? So Rabbi Yochanan says, since the marriage, even though he did the act of marriage, but since the effect of the marriage did not take place, he's able to actually retract. Once it takes place, she's married, she's his wife. But before it actually takes effect, although he did the act of marriage and it's in motion to take effect, but since it hasn't taken effect, he could retract. That's Rabbi Yochanan. Rish Lok says no. But we didn't speak. The woman is the second discussion of the Gemara. It's Gemara number base. That's Reb Zvid. No, right now we're not talking about both. See, here it's more that he did the act of marriage. At this point, Rish Lok says no. Since the way he expressed it, lo osid dibur mvatel dibur. Once the word sets a certain effect in motion, you cannot retract. So Rabbi Yochanan asked, from the case of a person appoints a shliach to take truma, and before he tithes on his behalf, wants to cancel the shlichus, the agency, he says he can. So you say over there, how did you become my agent? I appointed my agent. So now I cancel agency. So you say that verbally, as I made you the agent, verbally I could cancel the agency. So why over here? So you say, no, it's different. Because here, there was an action done. He gave her money when he said, you should be married to me in 30 days. So because the words are coupled with an action, of course the action wouldn't have had value without the words, but since it's coupled with the action, therefore the word cannot retract, cannot cancel the action. It's like once an arrow is in flight, you can't retract the arrow. Words can, but words cannot retract something which is coupled with an action. That's the Mishnah. That's simple, because it's like the arrow hasn't hit. It's like, you shoot an arrow, person, he walks away from that location. The arrow's not hitting. Where you put up a shield, it can't penetrate. What would be if she would die? What would if she would die before 30 days comes? Is she married? She's not here. You're marrying a person. It has to take effect in 30 days. When she died, she died. Would die a single woman? What are you going to put on a gravestone? Mrs. or Miss? Okay, it was a miss. Okay. I mean, if she would want to retract.
Well, she accepted the money 30 days later, and she...
Doesn't make a difference. She did an action to prevent that from taking effect. Because when is the marriage effective? In 30 days. So it's the equivalent of you did an action to marry a married woman. If she accepts... No, if she wouldn't...
She said nothing.
She said nothing, but she went and married another... She accepted marriage from another person. So, of course, she's submissive as explicit. She's married to Mr. 2, not Mr. 8.
And if she says in the first day, I'll take this money and I accept your offer, she cannot, upon her offer, she cannot marry someone else.
No. She could marry...
No.
No. If she marries someone else, because that's more than that. That she did an action which has a consequence. Before she accepted the money, but it had no consequence. The consequence is in 30 days. But let's say she accepts money from another person now, to be married now. The consequences immediately. So if it goes consequences immediately, so when the first action is going to be effective, there can't be a consequence.
So why can't one of us retract what he says?
Why? Because how does he retract it? No. No, that's because he says, you want to retract it with words. Right. Words cannot retract words which are coupled with an action. There she did much more than an action. There was immediate consequence of the action.
So
we'll discuss it.
Do something else other than just retract his words to cancel what he said.
You'd have to shoot her. I mean, there's no other way. I mean, according to...
He takes the money back, that's an action.
No, when he takes the money back, that means nothing.
Well,
Well, let's say she doesn't want to give him back the money. Let's say she doesn't want to give him back the money. She says, I want to be married to you. Yeah, definitely. It's meaningless. That doesn't undo the kiddushin, because he's taking her money now.
I'm just trying to understand what you said. That you can't retract an action. You can't retract words with other words if the first words are coupled with an action.
Even though there's no consequence to the action.
Okay, so
that's Reish Lakish.
That's Reish Lakish.
Rabbi Yochanan says you can.
A woman comes along in the middle of this 30-day period, and he gives her money and marries her immediately. Does that retract the first?
No.
Because he's retracting.
No, he's marrying another woman. He's marrying another woman.
Right.
So he could marry to two women.
So, but it doesn't retract.
No,
the first
nothing.
What's
What's
to do?
he cannot. Correct. No. Rabbeinu Gershom never said the second marriage is not effective. He's just saying that if you're married to two women, you're excommunicated. No, but again, it's not. It has nothing to do with it.
Marriage is good, but the consequence of the second allows you.
Okay, you'll penalized. You'll be penalized, but already you married her.
Get out of it.
According to Rish Lakish, you can't get out of it. He'll have to divorce her. He'll have to give a get to the second. To this. I'll give you an example. There's a thing. See, people don't understand. There's something called hetemei rabbanon. You ever hear that expression? That if 100 rabbis sign on a certain petition, then you can be married to two women. So people ask today, if a woman, her husband doesn't want to give her a get 100 rabbis to say she's permitted. Doesn't mean that, right? It's only this is the situation. A man is married to a woman, and she becomes unstable. Which means halachically she's not qualified to receive a get, and she's institutionalized. So what's the do? Be without a wife for the rest of his life. So Rabbeinu Gershom said that circumstance should present itself. Where he can't divorce his wife. If 100 rabbis petition confirming that, Cherem does not apply to that person. Yeah, that's the concept of hetemei rabbanon. It's not to annul the marriage. It's not in any way to affect the marriage. It's factually, this man, if he marries another woman, he's married to two women. Except Rabbeinu Gershom said the only time my cherem doesn't apply to that person if 100 rabbis sign a petition confirming the fact that he can't divorce the first one for whatever reason. Therefore, we allow him to marry another wife. However, the way it's cited in Halach and Shulchan Aruch, he has in escrow with the third person who's agent that in fact she should become competent, the affected immediately. He gives immediately that he shouldn't be married to two women. Now, because of the circumstance, we have no other choice. But if there should be a change of situation that she can receive it, the get is given immediately. So that's what it's done. With the get, with the instructions. What money? No money. The ksub is it's secondary. Beta ksub means nothing. No, a person can write a get. We're talking about receiving. She's not qualified to receive a get. It's still his wife. A person doesn't write a get if she died. But if she's alive, I mean, she's not qualified to receive the get. But if in case she become capable to receive the gets, they're available immediately to divorce her.
But he has to give it to them at that point.
Did he?
Right.
The giver.
That is not the case. Then the version doesn't want that second marriage.
Therefore what? No, he didn't want. No, he doesn't want you to marry two women.
That's good.
So therefore, but how is he supposed to retract? Lost even about la halacha. We rule like Rabbi Yochanan. The Gemara says Rabbi Shlokish is refuted. It's,
If you go with the Beis Lakish, you don't want the second marriage to take effect, because at the moment it takes effect, the man is excommunicated.
correct.
So now he can get out of the excommunication
By divorcing.
divorce, but you don't want that to
But how do you? According to Shlokish, there's no way to get out. There's no way. No, there is no. There's no way. There's no way.
Even if the man is excommunicated in favor for one nanosecond.
Could I ask you a question? Could I ask you a question? If a man marries a second woman, he did the wrong thing. Here, if you gave a woman, did the act of marriage, and the effect is in motion to take effect, what? Hold off. Married this other woman. It's the same thing. You acted irresponsibly. The man did it. He acted. Well, I wasn't thinking. Okay, so now you pay.
Like the other rabbi who went to choose a wife for his son, and he married her himself. Okay, and the answer is twofold. He wanted to actually do the deed with his wife before she found somebody else.
Correct.
Okay,
There was
so
nothing
there
wrong
is
with that.
such a concept like a man meets a woman.
No. Can I ask you a question? Let's say he's married to Mrs. A, and Mrs. B presents herself. And if he would have known, he would have married Mrs. A. And he marries Mrs. B. Is he in Chayrim?
Yes.
She's one of a kind of catch. So the first one married the second one. Right. Okay. No question. It's understood. You need a get. Okay. So then the Gemara quoted a Mishnah in Gittin. Brad, why don't you look in the Gemara with... you have a Gemara? Okay, good. Eisvei. HaSholech get liishto. The person sends a get to his wife. V'yegeh b'shliach or shesholach achrav shliach. And he catches up with the agent. The agent is the equivalent of himself. Or he sends an agent to inform his agent. So the agent is appointed to be the agent to inform the agent, who's meant to be him to give the get. V'omar lo get sh'nasati lo botilhu. The get that I gave you is what? Is canceled, which we'll see what it means in Amud Beis. Tosa speaks about it. Doesn't mean he's canceling the get. He's canceling the agency, so the agent should not be qualified to deliver the get. Hareze botil. The agency is nullified. Somewhere asks a question. By giving the get to the woman, it's the equivalent of giving the money. Giving the get to the agent is the equivalent of giving the money to the woman. It's not. We'll discuss this in a minute. But yet it says he could cancel it. What's different? We'll discuss this. And therefore, it's also until the get is given to the woman, it's the equivalent of words. We're making differentiation. Tell me what's simple and what the difficulty is. No. Not you'll marry me. No.
We are married in 30 days.
It should be effective in 30 days. Yeah. The money has no consequence at this moment. Yes or no? Right now, there's no consequence of giving you the money. The consequence will be in 30 days. No. There's no status. There's no different status. At this moment, no different status. Right? If she should die, and he's a Kohen, could he contaminate himself to her? I'm asking you. So there's no consequence. No, but that has to first take effect. If he gave her a get now, the get's meaningless. Right? He can't divorce her now. No, he has to wait for 30 days to give the get. No, how could you can't divorce a woman that's not your wife? It's not his wife. How could he give a get now? He has to wait 30 days for her to become his wife, then he divorces her. What right now, the get you're carrying, it's the equivalent. You're my shliach to deliver the get. Therefore what? Therefore what? No, but the whole idea is because it's coupled with an action. Here it's not coupled with. Here, the appointment of the agency is coupled with an action. When I appoint you to be the equivalent of myself, to tithe my grain, it's words and words. Therefore you could cancel it. But here, no. I gave you the get to deliver. Who's carrying this get? The shliach, the agent.
But I'm telling you, like
No, so there's the difference. Here, the act of kiddushin was done. The consequence hasn't taken place. There, the act of getting, it's not he gave a get, it should take effect in 30 days. The equivalent of the case would be a person appoints, gives a get to a woman, you should be divorced in 30 days. Right? And that would be the case of kiddushin. Because the act of divorce was done, the effect is 30 days. Here, he may have received an object, but what is it? But what have you become? Let's say I didn't give you the get. I said, be my agent to divorce my wife. And I'll give you the get in 3 days from now. And he gives the get 3 days. But why are you him? Why are you qualified to deliver the get? Because I appoint you made. It's words. And because it's all words, so you could cancel it. Even Rish Lakish agrees. Here I fully completed the act of kiddushin. Therefore, that's the answer. That's the differentiation.
you appointed a shliach to marry the woman.
Same thing.
The same thing as appointing a shliach.
Giving a ring, I want you to marry with this particular ring. Means nothing. Same as the get. Eish Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. Kol hakelim yordan lidei tumosim b'machshava. Vein olim b'dei tumosim elim shinim aseh. Okay? This Gemara Bava Kama cites the Mishnah. The Mishnah in Kalim, person has a piece of leather. It's fully worked, tanned, but it has to be trimmed to be used as a table covering. Okay? It wasn't yet trimmed. And the average person doesn't use this cover as a table cover. But he in his mind says, it's sufficient, this, and the only thing, he doesn't even verbalize it. This hide will be used as my table cover. And then subsequently, a sheretz comes in contact with it. What's the halacha? Since it's already assumed the status of a vessel, of a kli, it's contaminated. It's contaminated. What happens? He has it in mind, and the sheretz didn't come in contact with it. The source of contamination, and before he has a change of mind, I'm not going to use it as a table covering until it's trimmed. It's trimmed. And then a sheretz comes in contact with it. What's its status? It's contaminated. It's contaminated. Because the moment he had in mind that it should be used as a table covering, it assumed the status of a kli. And you cannot retract. No, he had machshava that he retracted it before it became contaminated. Right? What? No, he can't. It's a Mishnah. Kol hakelim yordli tumosim machshava ein olim bidei tumosim elu b'shinim masi. What about he has in mind it should be, and then afterwards he takes a knife and he cuts it, trimming it slightly. Doing that action confirms that it's not going to be used as a table cover until it's trimmed. So there he did an action to undo the first action, because he started to cut the hide to begin trimming it. So if he only has in mind that it assumes the status of a table covering, therefore it's a kli, and he wants to change his mind, he can no longer change his mind. But if he does an action to change what he had in mind, the action annuls that original thought, and therefore it's no longer a kli. So if subsequently a sheretz should touch it, come in contact with it before it's fully trimmed, it's not contaminated. Even if he puts it on his tablecloth. Even if he used it, doesn't make a difference. And he starts trimming it. It's not. It loses the status of a kli. Okay? Maser motzim maser is the Mishnah Kalim. An action undoes an action. Umiyad machshav, and undoes a thought. However, machshava inotzia lo miyad maaseh v'lo miyad machshava. But a thought cannot nullify an action and cannot nullify a thought. So we see clearly over here, although an action was not done, what do we see? Same thing over here. This is Rish Lakish's question of Yochanan. So if he did an act of kiddushin, how does the thought, the change of mind, how does that nullify the action? So Gemara says like this. We understand. Once he actually put the tablecloth on the table. So he did an action. It's been used as a table covering. So he says it will no longer be. So since it was put into use as a table covering, therefore words cannot undo the action because it was used as a table covering. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, since it never had any relevance, it was never used, it's the same hide lying there, unfinished. So just as initially you had in mind it should be considered the equivalent of a finished covering, you have a mind to undo that. Tavik, it should undo it. So in that where he answers, Rabbi Yochanan, Shaini Machshava de Tuma. The thought process regarding something assuming the status of a vessel is an exception. Why? The Chimasadami. The Torah values the thought as if you did an action. Rav Papa asks a question. Now we have what we call the Kri and the Ksiv. We have something the way it's spelled and the way it's punctuated, based on its vowels. Yud Taf Nun is read Yitain. But the vowels read Yutan. It's been put. Ksiv Ki Yitain. The spelling is as if you put. So what is Ki Yitain? What is that? That indicates the kind of, you did an action. You put. The Karina Kutan. It was put. It came upon it. It says Ki Yitain Mayim. If you should put water upon something, it becomes susceptible to contamination. So what indicates, what do you need to make it susceptible, the food item to be susceptible to contamination? You actually have to put the water there. Willingly put water there. But it says kiyutan. If water should be put on there, you didn't put the water. It rained, or fruits became wet somehow, and you're agreeable that they should be wet. It's not something that you're unhappy with. No, it happened, but now you're happy with what happened. That's the way the Gemara is going to reconcile the two. We see the kiyutan, the equivalent is if you did. Even though you did not do an action, the Torah says happening by itself is the equivalent of you doing the action. Just when you put water on something, why did you put it on? Because you want it to be wet. So when it comes about by itself, although you did not do the action, but you're agreeable that it should be wet, it's the equivalent of putting it on, doing the action. It's nothing. Then it's like yitain. The yutan has to be similar to the yitain. Right? Okay. It's a kiyutan dubi yitain. My yitain denechale. Just as when you wet something. Why are you wetting it? Because you want it to be wet. Right? You're agreeable. It should be wet. Yutan. So if it should become wet, when does that liquid affect it to make it susceptible for tumah? Denechale. It's only if you're agreeable. So what is the Torah saying? That even though it's not your action, an action was not taken, but the thought process, thinking that it's something that you want, it's the equivalent of doing it. So machshav is kemase. It's the exception. The spelling versus the vowels. But you know something, seemingly this should be a refutation on Rish Lakish. This should be a refutation on Rish Lakish. Why? Because the Gemara doesn't ask the pasuk. Because the way we translate, Rish Lakish agrees to this interpretation. Everybody agrees if it becomes wet, it rains on it, and you're not agreeable that it should be wet, it's not contaminated. But if you're agreeable, although the action didn't take place, it is contaminated. So, but why? Lo si dibur vatal dibur, right? What do we need a pasuk? You said only seemingly. What would you say? Maybe this is the source of Rish Lakish. This is the source. Rish Lakish is learning from the laws of Tumah that you see the what? That machshava is kemase. That's what the Torah is saying. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, this is the exception, not the rule. Rish Lakish is saying, this is the source, this is the rule.
This is one step further. This is just a thought. He was talking about speech. And speech has a much stronger potential than thought.
Yeah, but if we're saying thought is that, By truma also. If a person thinks in his mind something should be truma, I mean, Tosfos discusses this. You don't even verbalize it. I want a certain portion of my silo to be truma. You didn't verbalize it. It becomes truma. It says, "V'nechshav lachem truma aschem." When you think something should be truma, it becomes truma.
In general, we say
Thought means nothing.
thought means nothing. Words mean something.
Correct?
Actions mean more.
Correct. Correct.
So
Correct.
there's a hierarchy.
Right, but what I'm saying is over here, but seemingly Rish Lakish should say, he'd say, what do I need? A pasuk to indicate this. So you could say, like you're saying, here it's more, but it's more so, right? To tell me it's not only words, it's even thought. But I'm saying, you could also say, this is the principle. I see the principle in this pasuk over here. Rabbi Yochanan answered, no, there's the exception. There's the exception to the rule. Okay?
We have these rules of Mishnah about the one example, is it the rule by itself?
Right.
There's a whole set of rules about
Tosfos asked a phenomenal question. Rish Lakish asked a question from the case of Tumah. Well, he says, why don't you ask a more simple question? Well, he says, if you think in your mind that an unfinished hide should be a vessel, assume its value, it becomes. And to undo it, you cannot undo it. We originally started by truma. If a person has in mind something should be truma, right, you can't undo it. So you see clearly that having something in mind affects something, and you cannot retract it. That's Tosfos' question. Why does he have to ask from a Mishnah Kalim? We've already discussed in Truma. So let him ask directly from Truma. Having in mind something should be Truma, it becomes Truma. And you cannot retract it. So the question is even stronger. But once it becomes, you cannot undo it, period. Right? Once you tithe something to become Truma, whether you tithe it in mind or verbally, not a person, I've changed my mind. It's etched in stone. I mean, you can't undo that. And yet, by Tumah, we say you can undo it. Because, Tumah is a whole different concept. The Torah says a kli is matame. What happens if you have an earthenware vessel which is contaminated? Now, how do you cannot purify it. You have to smash it. What happens when you smash it? Because it's no longer a kli. So when you actually, what do you need in action? Because the thought caused it to assume the status of kli. So when you take the action to indicate that it's not functioning as a kli, it's no longer a kli. That's the reason why it undoes it. By truma, once you think in your mind it should be truma, so it's become truma. Now how do you undo truma? You can't undo truma. You can say that's the reason why, that's what Tosfos explains, therefore it has no relevance to our discussion here. There it has relevance. We see thought, it's something that could be undone, and yet you see that words or the mindset bring something about, and you can't undo it unless you do an action. So similarly, that should be the case here. Truma would not be a question, because truma, even with an action, you can't undo truma once it's become truma. That's what Tosfos says. That's why truma has no relevance to the discussion between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Okay. Rav Zvid Maser Lo Shmaitza Ahov. Now, this is what somebody brought up before. Rav Zvid, he presents the argument of Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, not going on our Mishnah, where she accepts the kiddushin. He marries a woman to take effect in 30 days, and he wants to retract before it takes effect. Right? That's the argument of Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. She applies it to the Mishnah in the next parak, in the fourth parak. Hear the case. Same Mishnah in Pesachim. A woman appoints, it's called a shlich lekabbalah, an agent that she should be the equivalent to her. Go out, and I want you to accept marriage from Reuven. Right? So when Reuven gives this woman the object of value for marriage, she's married to Reuven, because this woman is the equivalent of herself. Correct? And then she went subsequently, before she accepted the marriage from Reuven as she was instructed, she accepted marriage from a third party. And now her agent is going to accept marriage from that person. Is that marriage can be effective? What would you say, Howard? Why not? Did she cancel the agency? It's not because she canceled the agency. Not because she did. Because she's married. Not because she did an action. Because she's a married woman. Because not because she did an action. No. She's a married woman. A married woman cannot be married to another man.
Just like she can have her agent.
Right. Her agent, she is the woman herself. If she accepted marriage from Reuven, she's married, she's Reuven's wife. Could she become Shimon's wife? So that's the reason. Okay? No, she didn't cancel the shlichus. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. You're me. But it has no relevance. Okay, I understand. But she could still say, you're me. You're me. You're me for the rest of my life. That means if the husband, let's say now the husband should die 20 years later, and she never canceled that agency, that woman still function as her. Okay? If her acceptance of marriage preceded her agent's kiddushin, her marriage is a marriage. She's a married. What happens if her agent received the object from that party? Ain't kiddushin. Right? Then her acceptance of kiddushin is not a kiddushin because she's a married woman to that other person, although it came through the agent. Okay? That's the Mishnah. Now we speak about a theoretical case, which the Mishnah doesn't use. Lo kiches atzmo v'chosher b'mau. The agent was appointed to be the agent to accept marriage from a certain party who she agreed to be married to. Now she wants to retract. She wants to change her mind. She says, I don't want to be married to so-and-so. Right? So this is the equivalent of get. Right? This is even better than get. Right? Here, she received nothing. She received nothing. I want you to be my agent to receive marriage on my behalf. And then she wants to cancel her. Cancel the person. Her agent. Rabbi Yochanan says, Choseres, she can cancel the agent. Why? As I made you the agent verbally, I could cancel you verbally. She cannot retract. Hear this? The arrow has been launched. The words over here, making you into the agent, you're ready, you're an agent, I can't retract that agency. Rabbi Yochanan, why? She can retract, just as you became the agent through words, I could retract it through words. Words cannot retract words. Now, let's understand. How do we understand it? Rish Lakish is really difficult to understand. This is much more extreme. This is much more extreme. According to the first version that we discussed, Rish Lakish agreed that words can retract words. It's only when it's coupled with an action it cannot. So here she did no action. Right? This is much more extreme, what he's saying over here. But what is the rationale? I mean, why shouldn't words? As you became my agent with words, why can't I retract it? To be continued.